What's going on, people? It's me, and it is 9 o'clock at night right now on Saturday night. College football's just wrapping up, so yeah, we are 13 hours away from Seahawks kickoff tomorrow in Carolina, and of course, I had to make a pregame video for that. I can't miss pregame for the first game of the season. Um, didn't really get a chance to make a video during the week because it was a busy week for me. I had to have sorted things pop up here and there that were just taking up my time. But yeah, I am ready for this season. I am ready for football to get started. Thursday night was great. I watched that game, but 13 hours away now. It's time to kick things off. And as for this first game, I don't really know what to expect because the Panthers, Carolina. They are at least a decent team, an average team. Last 2 years, we've seen them turn it on at the end of the season and play some excellent football. Excuse me. We've seen them play excellent football at various times over the last 2 years. But when it really matters, when it really counts, they find a way to blow close games. They find a way to lose games that they should expect to win. And because of that, they're pretty much out of the playoff race by October. So you wonder, is that a structural thing? Is that a, franchise, something intrinsic to their franchise, or is it bad luck? And I can't really tell you that answer, but if you look at these Panthers over the past 2 seasons, they play good football, they play close games, and they find ways to blow games they should win over and over. I mean, just last year, we played them. They should have beat us, or at least they had a great chance to beat us, found a improbable way to blow what should have been basically a free touchdown. The Atlanta game was a great example of that. They had a couple others. I know the year before they had a game against Minnesota that they should have won and blew. Just a laundry list of them finding ways to lose games. So the talent is there. It is a good team. It is a team that is capable of doing some very good things, but up until now, they haven't been able to put that all together into a product that wins enough. So, I look at them and I go, this is a roster, a non-traditional roster. First of all, of course, obviously, if you're looking at tomorrow, the number one concern you should have is Cam Newton after a 3,000-mile plane ride. You're flying cross-country 3,000 plus miles, you get out there, and you got to deal with a athletic phenom quarterback in Cam Newton who can run around, run the zone read, he can throw it around, he can run around, and just, you could look up and he's got, over 100 rushing yards, and you just can't stop him. And, tying into that, of course, the whole general idea of flying 3,000 miles and then playing a football game. It's a long plane ride, and it's not something this Seahawks team has ever been very good at doing. Occasionally we find ways to pull them out, but it's often quite ugly, and quite often we see the team underperform in those road situations. So there's obviously all that, but this is a game that if we are as good as we think we are, we should find a way to win. Now, I'm not saying we should find a way to win by a lot or win easily or win by, 20 points, but if we are as good as we think we are, which is a legitimate Super Bowl contender and a team that is one of the 5 or 6 best in the league, then we should find a way to win this game. You look across the field and you see a Carolina team that it does have its strengths. It has a good rushing attack because of Cam Newton and the running backs. It has a defense with some talent, like Luke Kahuli, whose name I'm not going to be able to pronounce correctly, who looks like a real stud. You have talent, but you also have many deficiencies. I mean, you look at the team, they got Steve Smith and not much else in terms of wide receivers. They have a lot of overpaid players, like, a guy like Charles Johnson, who's a very good player, is not worth the money he's making. They have overpaid running backs in their backfield. They have some, I believe they're still paying, I think it's John Beeson money that he probably doesn't deserve given that he always gets hurt. It is a flawed roster. It has a flawed head coach, at least as far as we know. Ron Rivera has shown deficiencies at winning close games and making good decisions down the stretch. And, you know, looking at it, in spite of the long plane ride, it is a game we should win, but I definitely don't want to say that I think the Panthers are a bad team. They are a talented team. Last couple years, they've lost more than they won, but they were competitive in many games, and they pulled things together in times to have respectable end of seasons. So there's obviously some problems over there, especially when you look at their salary cap situation in many ways, but it is a team with some talent, and we can look up, and they've run for 250 yards on us, and we can't let that happen, because this is one of those games we need to bankroll some of these road victories, because you look at the schedule, and obviously we have to travel within the division, and those games are going to be tough because we play in a division with rough and tumble teams. We got to travel to San Francisco, we got to go to Arizona and St. Louis. Not great teams, but teams that are good enough to at least compete. I think we have to travel to Houston. I believe we also have to travel to... No, I think we're hosting Tennessee. But the point is, this is a team that's had struggles on the road in the past. Last year, we won 4 road games out of 10 total, if you count the playoffs. So we need to bankroll some of these road wins, because for us to get to a 12-4 record, which is probably what we need to bankroll some road victories. And that starts with this Carolina game, because we're going to play better teams on the road down the road. Like I said, we've got the 49ers on the road, and that's probably going to be the hardest game we play all year. We're going to have to travel to... I think we traveled to... No, not Green Bay this year. I think we go to Minnesota this year. I think we go down to Tampa this year. So I'm going off the top of my head. I haven't looked at the schedule in a while, or actually I have, but I didn't look at the home-away spreads in a little while. But we need to find a way to bankroll at least 4 road wins this season, in my opinion, for us to do what we want to do. And this Carolina game is a great chance. And furthermore, next week, week 2, not to look ahead, but we're going to have our hardest home game of the year when the 49ers come into town, and I fully expect to win that game, of course, home opener and all that, but it's not going to be an easy game, and we don't need to put ourselves in a position where we might start 0-2. Again, I don't think that's going to happen, but we need to make sure we give ourselves a little bit of room to breathe before what will be the hardest road home game of the season, I assume, and make sure we get this victory. So it's certainly not a must-win game. Week 1 games never are, but I think it's a very crucial one, and we need to start bankrolling some of these less than easy games. Last year, we found ways to blow games on the road. Against Detroit, against Miami, almost against this Carolina team, Arizona, St. Louis. Can't happen this year. So I'm going to tune in about 13 hours and expect us to handle our business and come out of Carolina with the win. But it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to be a pretty close game. I'm expecting Carolina to make plays, but this is a game we should win if we're as good as we think we are. So I'll talk to you guys after the game. Might not be until Monday. I'm not sure, but I'll see you when I see you. So see you guys later.